Greetings, 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 peace and blessings, brothers and sisters of the earth. This is your brother, your friend, your digital content strategist, Toure Muhammad. We are broadcasting live from Chicago, North America, and we are here at Intellectual Studios. Yes, we are in the building. This wonderful studio established by our brother, Earl Winfrey, and you are about you are about to hear, you are about to witness Black excellence. This is the Black Business Matters Show. There we go, there we go. All right, so maybe some of y'all missed that opening. But anyway, man, we are excited to be here. This is the Black Business Matters Show. This new podcast, this is number 3 that we're doing to celebrate and to learn from successful Black businesses, quality Black-owned businesses, and we're here to provide some knowledge and information for those who want to start their business, to build their business, or who want to grow their career. Shout out to those who believe in doing for self. Shout out to those who believe in the power of you. Today is an incredible day. It is March 20th. We're 6 days past the celebration, or not the celebration, the acknowledgement of the wonderful woman who brought me into existence. I celebrated 50 years on the planet. I know. Hold the applause, hold the applause. I know it don't look like it. I could bust out, I could do 50 push-ups right now, right? But I'm not. But I can, right? And so I want to, definitely appreciate, show some love to my mother for all that she's done to get me this far and for bringing me to an existence and helping me to become a man. So we got to create an incredible show today, brothers and sisters, but I cannot go without acknowledging, you see me, I got my mask, I'm ready, I got my Lysol, I got my gloves. Man, what we are experiencing right now is, it could be a changing of a way of life for us as we have known it. Everyone is moving with more precaution. Everyone is thinking about being safe. And it's a unique thing because with this coronavirus pandemic, you have more people thinking about and reflecting on their family. People, at least what we see on social media, is people looking forward to spending time with their family. And I think for those that are saying it, I think that's the case. But unfortunately, if people have not been settling their differences all along, these confined environments can be stressful, right? And so before we get into our guests, before we get down with that, I want to encourage everyone to go to NOI.org or just Google Atonement, Day of Atonement. Google 8 steps of atonement, and you'll see an 8-step process that Reverend Bevels kind of put together with the encouragement and the support of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, of steps that it takes for us to be able to heal from the wrong that we've done to each other. That's so important in this day and age, and in the time that we are in now, where we're being forced to be confined. Again, I know there's a lot of celebration of those who are enjoying their family time, but I want to speak to those who may have problems and issues. And now the idea, because you don't have that bar to go to, right, to take the edge off before you go home, because you don't have, now if you're just going to enjoy yourself, right, and you're not going there because you don't want to go home, that's a different story. I ain't talking to you necessarily. I'm talking to the ones that avoid going home and they find other things to do because they don't want to be in the house. Man, let me talk to y'all for a minute, man, and go to that website, get those 8 steps of atonement so that you can begin the process of healing your relationships. This may be a blessing in disguise, this self-quarantine, this ordered quarantine right now, because it'll force us to settle some of our differences. But anyway, I don't want to go too far on that line because we got some other stuff to talk about today, but I just want to encourage you to don't run from that issue, face it head on. And that's actually what we should be doing in our businesses too, for those who are in business. So before we hit our guest, I think she just called in. I am so excited to talk to her. I want to give y'all a quick update, a quick highlight from this beautiful little book here, Chicago Self-Made Black Business Pioneers, written by yours truly, where we highlight a few of Chicago's incredible self-made black business pioneers. Today, I want to highlight Ferdinand L. Barnett and Ida B. Wells. Man, if this wasn't a power couple from out of this world, man, this couple right here were educated, outspoken, and very business savvy. They understood how to use media and publishing to bring about social justice. And by 1879, Ferdinand L. Barnett graduated from Chicago's College of Law and had launched Chicago's first black-owned newspaper, the Chicago Conservator. And as one of the rising post-Reconstruction black leaders, he worked with the National Conference of African American Men, and he was involved in the struggle in both the North and the South and supported black-owned businesses. And then he connected with Ida B. Wells, who came from Nashville, Tennessee, who was an incredible woman of her own regard because she stood up against white racism in Tennessee, in Memphis, Tennessee, at a time when people were getting lynched. And she encouraged folks to separate at that time and find some place, maybe in Oklahoma somewhere, to start a new city, because she knew that she couldn't get justice for herself or her people in Memphis. They had bombed a grocery store, a black-owned grocery store, and Memphis is where S.B. Fuller left on foot to get away from the racism there because they didn't want him to be in business. So those are two I want to highlight right quick. Those two wonderful people. You can get this book on Amazon. And now we're going to get into our guest. And she is, man, I'm so excited to have this young lady to talk to today because she is a inspiration. She is a incredible businesswoman, a savvy businesswoman. She is a how can I say this? But let me say it like this. She's the only one that I've read about or heard about in history since we've been here in America, since Daniel Hale Williams established Providence Hospital. She's the first person I know that's black that built a hospital. She built a micro hospital, a $20 million micro hospital. She is a real estate developer, obviously, a business developer. She is kind of like, you know, she got ideas like, man, you know, the guy that's on the TV show that walk into your business and start telling you and helping you take that business to the next level. Yeah, she like that. She help you make some profits in your business. And when it comes to real estate, man, all throughout the city of Chicago and beyond, man, she's manufactured. We're going to talk about it. She's doing an event online tomorrow, so all of you all can attend. But, man, just an incredible person. And not only does she have the business acumen, not only is she very astute when it comes to making money and helping businesses grow, but, man, she got the kind of character and the kind of heart that is fashioned after our people. She loves our community. Despite her success, she is in the community. She's rooted in the community, and she's fighting for the community. We want to bring on our sister, Wendy Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Brother Toure. Who was that you was just talking about?
and she's humble too. Absolutely. You know who I'm talking about. Look in the mirror.
Oh my goodness.
Do a selfie. Do a selfie and look at the picture in the selfie and tell me who you see. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much. I am wonderful. Grateful to be busy. Grateful to be working.
Yes.
And, grateful to be on this show with you here today. And just to be able to share.
Absolutely, man. I have a million questions, but I want to start this in a very basic way. If you can, I know I gave a little bit of your accolades, but if you can just give a little bit of your background so that our listeners who are not familiar with you can get an idea of who you are and where you come from.
Okay. So I'm a Midwestern girl. I was born and raised until I was 17 years old in Omaha, Nebraska. And I was one of those, I guess you could call like gifted children. I was reading at 4 and just kind of always on another level. And I'm very grateful for my parents who just kind of let me be on my own level. And then at 17, I went to college. I went to Iowa State University. And there I started off majoring in computer engineering. And the only reason why I majored in computer engineering is because there was a counselor who said, you got good math and science scores, you should be an engineer or a doctor. And I really wanted to be a business mogul. That's what I had been saying all my life. And so after 2 years, after I actually got into the engineering college, I quit and started and went and got a dual degree in finance and accounting. Immediately went into public accounting, and from there started doing business consulting, moved into the consulting world. At that time, it was hard for a woman and hard for a Black woman to get into consulting just because it was before the Enron scandals and 9/11 and all of that. And once that happened, then they had to sort of break up the industry a little bit, and it made it a little easier. But I was banging on the door before that. And then from there, I sold real estate. I worked at the National Center and for Minister Farrakhan for a while. Learned so much there that carries me to this day. Joined the nation in 1990, right after college. And I've just been, kind of going ever since. I started this journey, Brother Toure, relatively young because I knew at an early age what I wanted to do. So, when I left to go to college, I probably was about a year or so ahead of when most people leave to go to college. But I just kept plugging away at it. And so over the years, I've realized that I have a gift when it comes to building and developing businesses and putting things together. And you talked about the hospital that myself and my business partner, who's a surgeon, we built in Maryland. And that was a very challenging project because we had designed a business model that no one had ever done before. And so when we started working on getting approvals and trying to figure out how to do it, nobody knew what to do with us. So it kind of reverse engineered us into it, and we got there, got it done, and just been going ever since. I've had tons of businesses over the years. More have failed than have been successful, and I just keep going. It's what I love to do. I love to see people doing for self. It excites me, makes me happy.
Man, that's beautiful. And you said that real smooth, but you had to reverse engineer because, of course I said in the beginning that you're the first and only Black woman I know that's built a hospital.
Yeah.
But in that area you're talking about, nobody had done what you were doing. Period.
Yeah, no.
You had no prototype.
There was no prototype, so we changed. What we did was when I started off work consulting basis in the healthcare industry, I started looking at the business models, and then my business partner started telling me, things that he saw that he thought needed to be done, and we put together sort of this hybrid model and overlaying the service of hospitality and the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in terms of how to interact with people. Now we got this big model, and no one knows what to do with us. So what I did was I came to Chicago, and I went downtown, and I said, I want to build a hospital. And they gave me a package. And from that package, I was able to identify what risks the city or county in Maryland, in that case it's Prince George's County, was looking to mitigate. And I backed into it by saying, okay, these are the things they should be worried about. And so this is how I'm going to tell them they need to approve us. So when I went in when you first, in some states, or counties, when you want to open a medical facility, you have to get what they call a certificate of need. And when I went in to tell them that I thought I should be exempt from the certificate of need, because I realized that they're not going to really be able to evaluate it, I just reversed it and I said, these are the risks that you're concerned about. This is how I'm going to meet those risks, and this is how this business is going to look. And so basically it's called a micro hospital because it's a hybrid between a community hospital, which would have beds that you stay in overnight, and an ambulatory surgery center that just does surgery. So this is in the middle. So it has everything that the community hospital has, except we can only keep people 23 hours and 59 minutes. So it's a more nimble hospital model in that it helps to save money. It reduces, the risks of disease and infection from keeping people in the hospital. And it allows us to be a little bit more, I say nimble, because we don't necessarily have to do medicine based on the way the insurance companies say we should do medicine. We do medicine based on the clinical needs of the patients. And then we do the same thing with the insurance companies. We reverse engineer them. And if they say that, if they've got a rule, for example, that's a little crazy and they say they only pay for something, then we've been able to design a system to say that, you're affecting this person's life and limbs. And so over the course of the last 10 or 11 years, we've saved over 30,000 lives and limbs. And we're looking to build this model in Nigeria. We've been talking to some partners, and we have some leads even here in Chicago. And that would be a dream for me, is to be able to do it here in Chicago. And that I can't even think about it. That makes me so excited.
I know. This past, 14 days maybe?
Mm-hmm.
How has it been for you at the hospital, for patients, for you as an administrator and all that? What's it been like with this pandemic, this coronavirus?
So believe it or not, from the hospital standpoint, we see infectious diseases all the time. We have people who pass away, unfortunately, from the flu. So we've seen this. It's probably not as scary for us because we know that, you all walk past and interact with infectious, deadly infections probably on a daily basis. So that was not as difficult. What was more challenging is that I'm a franchisee partner with a massage envy in Silver Spring, Maryland, and that actually was one of the more challenging situations because you have a business with a lot lower margins, and there's a lot more to consider. You have to consider not only just the safety of your employees, but what does it look like if you close too early and your competitors stay open? It's easy for them to snatch your staff. If you stay open too late and you get a claim, then you may or may not be covered by your insurance. So there's all these different things that you have to consider in a business like that. And then you have to figure out, how are you going to come back after this? Because there's a lot of businesses that aren't going to make it back. And so that business has been more challenging in terms of figuring out how to make the right decisions and when to make certain decisions. than the hospital. And then the construction and consulting things that I do, that's really just a matter of communication. And on the construction side, there were certain subcontractors that we suspended, others that we allowed to keep going because they may be able to work, in a warehouse or something like that where there's just one or two people, and as long as the state says that they can work, they can work. So, but the main thing to consider with this kind of thing is really your communication and just strategizing and being creative and not panicking.
Understood. And what advice would you give or counsel would you give just in general? We know in situations like this that large corporations have, they have options. Some can seek a bailout like the airline industry. Some can have enough resources, both money and other resources to kind of weather the storm. But for those businesses that are on the smaller end that were already struggling, what can they, how can they make some of those decisions that may be, either way they may be doomed?
Well, I think the first thing to do is not think that you're doomed. And you talked at the beginning of the program about our legacy and history of Black businesses, who in the late 1800s and early 1900s, they were met with all kinds of challenges. And so when you start looking at mindsets and mental strategies, you have to ask yourself, how did they survive? How did they survive their businesses being burned down and different things? They persevered, but they also were creative. So that's the key thing. I think something that happens to us today is that we think if we own a business, it has to be this exact business for the next 30 years. We think if this is the way we do things, we have to do it this way for the next 20 years. But there's nothing wrong with changing. There's nothing wrong with, making a better decision for yourself. So you have to get creative. So if you own a restaurant, for example, look at what are your competitors doing and what do people need? You got millions of people at home. And so they got stuff that they need. They got problems that they need solving. So you should figure out as your business, how do I solve those problems? If I have a restaurant, do I deliver? If I have a laundromat, do I deliver laundry services? Anything that you can do to think outside the box. This is the time when millionaires are made. And during the Depression, there were more millionaires made probably than just about any other time in history. And why is that? Because it gives you an opportunity to get creative. The playing field is about to be leveled. So where you may have thought, okay, I'm struggling before, change that perspective and get creative and figure out what it is that you can do to make more money for yourself. Because and another thing, I know sometimes it's hard to say, but we have to really get away from focusing on the money. We really have to focus on the experience that the money gives us. And you've probably heard me say this before, Brother Toure, where I say I look to make more and more money because of the more experiences that it's going to allow me to have and the more experiences I can offer to other people around me. And I believe that's why I am blessed with opportunities, because I look for that experience and I look for how I can bring other people into the fold with me to have experiences and to expand and extend their life.
You're listening to Black Business Matters Show. I'm your host, Wendy Muhammad, and we have Wendy Muhammad. And we are not necessarily blood related, right? Although we all come from the same source, right? From one man, from one God came us all. But we are connected. We have the same last name because it was given to us by the same man, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And man, we're just having a great discussion. If you're just coming on and checking us out, Sister Wendy, your book, Mind of an Entrepreneur. Now, I think I purchased 2, maybe 3 copies,
Thank you, Brother Toure.
And you gave away. I've been at at an event where you gave away one, right? And do you know I don't have a copy right now because I keep giving them to other people.
Okay.
Right.
We'll get to another one.
It's like, how when people have good food, it's good because everybody gets quiet.
Mm-hmm.
You have a good book when you don't want to keep it, you want to share
it. Yeah.
Right. So I gave one to my daughter. I gave one to a brother who was facing some time. I said, take this with you. I mailed it to him. I knew he couldn't take it with him, but there's something in there you talk about, among other things, that I think is so important, and it really resonated with me because I remember a time when I was kind of concerned when I left the Final Call newspaper as a full-time journalist, and my whole background was the Final Call. My name was Muhammad, so I didn't have a choice but to be myself as I went to my job interview, and lo and behold, it was the right thing to do. And I haven't, looked back since, right? Every space I've been in, I've been Toure Muhammad. And it seems simple to some people, but it's not always easy for those of us who carry that name or who are in the nation of Islam, because we sometimes are worried about what people think about, us and how that may affect our money. Right? But you talk about being authentically you and how standing on principles, you've been able to do that and not miss a beat. So talk a little bit about your book and about how important it is to be your whole self in business and not leave your spirituality or your religion on the side.
Yeah. So the thing with that, Brother Toure, is that I talk about discovering and monetizing your authenticity. Because at the end of the day, the real blessing is to be able to sustain yourself and to make money doing what it is that you love and that ties in with your personality, right? And so that's the real goal. You don't want to go to work and be somebody else, because you're only going to probably do so well. But if you can get up every day and be yourself, you will find that people respect you more. People treat you better. You treat other people better because you're not mad and frustrated because you got to be all fake and phony. But the real deal that's really a sense of pride for me, that I'm very honored to have gained access to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because it has been those teachings that have taught me a better way to think, a better way to do things, a better way to approach things, and I've always used it, and it just works. And there's nothing else other than that. It just works, and it helps you gain respect, and it helps you to respect other people. But to me, it works like magic. It's like a passport. It gets you in and out of all kind of doors.
Oh, that's that black girl magic, that black woman magic right there.
What it is. That's what it is.
What? And so you have a book, of course, and you have a radio show. So talk about, that combination.
Okay, so the Mind of an Entrepreneur book and the radio show and all of that stuff, I started that somewhere around 2005 or 2006, I think. And the reason I started it, Brother Toure, is because I went through a period where I was really struggling to figure things out. And what I realized was that it was my ego that was in the way, because I had always been smart. I had always, I grew up a certain way, kind of upper middle class, and so I couldn't figure out why I couldn't figure this out, and I couldn't figure out why people couldn't see me the way I saw myself. And using that and coupling that with the teachings, and then really just understanding my history as a black woman who has, Native American roots, and understanding what is it going to take for me to overcome history and to make history and to really make an impact, because what I was really wanting to do was to make an impact. And I said, it's got to be mental strategy. It's got to be emotional intelligence. And so I just started studying, and as slowly and surely I started figuring things out. And then I started doing the show at that time on Blog Talk Radio. And I would just interview other entrepreneurs, and we would talk about mindset and strategy. And I started putting things together. At that time, I wrote the book, Mind of an Entrepreneur, but I didn't release it because I was doing well. I was an independent consultant, but I really wanted to be doing something really impactful before I released the book. And so I held on to it. And even when I released it, I only released like a third of it. And I've gone back to the drawing board. And a few weeks ago, I was in Benin, and I spent a ton of time just writing. And the second book, Brother Toure, let me tell you, the first book, I was like, oh, okay, it's okay. But this one, I'm really proud of. And I think, inshallah, I can get it out this summer. I have a few people that I want to contribute to it, but I think this one's going to be a showstopper, and we're going to use it in parallel with another project. So when you make like a donation to the project, you get this book. So it's going to be awesome. The radio show is really designed to give people free game on how to navigate the world of business, because what I found is that you can trace up and down going from conference to conference and meeting with this person and that person and this successful person, but nobody wants to give you the game. And I said, you know what? I'm going to give the game away. This is how you need to think. This is what you need to focus on. Here's the strategies you need to use, and see what happens. And so I pride myself on being able to be an asset to people. So if somebody sits down in front of me, usually it doesn't take me but 20, 30 minutes, and I can tell them what they need to do, how they need to do it. And I've been blessed because I'm not trying to hold the game back. I'm like, let's give it away. Let's help. Let's see what we can do to change history. And that's been my goal.
So I know what's going on here, man. I've been sitting here listening to you. I done figured this out.
Okay.
So you get, how did you figure out how to get 30 hours out of the day? Running a hospital, Massage Envy, new book coming out, consulting, radio show, and we haven't even gotten to what we need to get into right now as time is going past real fast. The Sajdah House.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's talk a little bit. Let's move, because I want to make sure we get enough time to kind of talk about your goals and purpose for the Sajdah project and how that came about. So tell us about the Sajdah project. For full disclosure, for all those who are listening, I am a part of this project with Sister Wendy. When I heard about it, when she about what she was doing, I had to be a part of it. I had to do volunteer my efforts and my time to make sure this project comes into fruition. So tell us about the Sajdah project, the Sajdah House.
Mm-hmm. So the Sajdah House is the new name for the former national home of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad at 4847 South Woodlawn Avenue. I purchased the home on a foreclosure sale, which is what we're going to be talking about in the webinar this weekend, foreclosure real estate sales, and decided to make it a cultural center that will focus on the legacy of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad of economic development, and also other iconic entrepreneurs who made history. And so right now we are in the process of construction, well, just about as much as we can do right now with this pandemic going on. But this house is going to be a showstopper, inshallah. Let me tell you. From the renovation that we're doing, I like to say that we're really like renovating this house with a toothbrush. That's how much respect and love and honor we are giving that house for the owner, and my love. My goal is really to just demonstrate my love and gratitude to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And this house is a small example of that, but it is going to be a showstopper. You will come there and say, oh my goodness, from the way in which we are renovating the exterior of the house with the red brick and the black mortar. We're putting beautiful black pavers in the driveway with copper windows. Some of the windows are already copper. We're going to restore the copper and copper trim. Inside with the amazing woodwork that's there, it's mahogany and walnut and ash and pine. We're restoring that. We got a full chef's kitchen. We got 100-year-old mirrors that we're going to paint and use in the kitchen that have the messenger's book on it that say how to eat to live. And there's a famous photo of the Savior, Master Farad Muhammad, that goes in the pine room. We're putting that on a 100-year-old mirror. We've got a statue or a sculpture that we're going to have there called the Cracked Atom. And it is an offshoot of our lesson that says Mr. Muhammad cracked one atom into 10 million parts. And so it's 7 members of the African diaspora and Africa that are in a circle touching the cracked atom. And the cracked atom symbolizes the atom or the knowledge that was cracked by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sculpture that's going to be there. We're going to tell the stories using augmented reality, hologram technology. Everything there will be moving and flowing. There won't be like static stuff there. When you walk in there, you won't feel that there's any dead energy. Everything's going to be moving, and it's going to be exciting. And so what we're going to do there, we're going to do tours. A few days a week, we'll do some tours and allow people to grace the steps of this incredible house. There's no other property in the history of the world that hosts that many iconic Black people from America that have been in that house at one time or at any point in time in history. So we can run a laundry list of people that have graced those floors, from not only the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Mother Clara Muhammad, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Stokely Carmichael, Adam Clayton Powell. We can go on and on. Oh yeah, definitely. There's so many, and so we're also going to do day retreats. I've attended day retreats at millionaire mindset retreats at different millionaires, and I said, we can do this. We got a mansion. We got a multi-million-dollar mansion. We can do this here. So people can pay and come and spend the day, and we may do 2 and 3 day retreats. We'll bring in top keynote speakers. We got a lot of space to move around. We've got a coach house where we're going to put an augmented reality theater that's going to have some really interesting effects in it. And it's going to really show you the immortality of the Nation of Islam and what these teachings can do and will do for those who come in terms of motivation, exciting them to do for self, helping us as Black people to understand that we have a legacy of entrepreneurship that we should be proud of and we should be excited about, and also showing the world that we are a community that they should do business with, that they should invest with, and that they should work with and take a look at our products and services because they really are superior and building that economy. So I'm excited about this project. So excited about it. It's going to be nothing like it, and I'm just looking forward to seeing it come to fruition because the process has been so fun.
And I know there's a projected date of October of this year, and it may or may not be pushed back. You seem to have that can-do-it spirit that, as you said about Brother Abner said, esprit de corps, right, to get stuff done. But, you know, we're looking forward to that, and of course we'll be talking about it on the show and helping to get the word out and promote and market so folks will know about the opening when it does happen.
Yes, absolutely. We're looking at October 2020, and as you mentioned, because of this pandemic, that may or may not happen. We had about 4 to 6 weeks cushion built into the schedule, so you know there may be some pushback. My thought was to celebrate the birth of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad the entire month of October. And people do that, right? Your birthday's in August, you celebrate all month.
Hey, especially Chicago black folks. We celebrate our birthdays for a long.
My thing is, let's celebrate the messenger's birthday all month.
Absolutely.
So that's the goal, is to be ready by the beginning of October, so that literally the entire month we are celebrating that incredible man. And let me say this, Brother Toure, because this is the reason why I want to do a month-long or an elongated celebration. Because having us in that high, and I'm going to get metaphysical on you, but having us in that high vibrational state, celebrating someone that loves us so much, is going to literally change not only our mindset but our DNA, because the whole energy that's flowing through us and that's coming to us from that month-long celebration of this man and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is going to change our lives.
I believe that.
Literally.
Absolutely, I believe that.
You can write that down, Brother Toure.
Facts. We're gonna put that. That's gonna be a pull quote. We're gonna pull that out, man.
It's just like we were going to Sajdah Day 2020. Sister Sajdah, Sister Wakiti, and Sister Alisa and I, we decided to start saying, "Welcome to the best Sajdah Day ever." We started going around saying, "Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the best Sajdah Day ever." We just decided, and we started saying that. And you wouldn't believe how that spread, and so many people were saying, "This is the best Sajdah Day ever." So it's the same thing, you know, with the month-long celebration of you know, the birth of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
That's right.
It's going to change you.
That's right. Facts. I believe that. And this wonderful house, I think you mentioned it. It was built in 1892, so there are some. It's a historical landmark, right? Status, or can you talk a little bit about that a little bit more?
Yeah. So we have turned in our plans, and thus far Illinois Landmarks has been satisfied with our plan, and so now we just have to comply. And be it the will of Allah, our compliance aligns with what we submitted, and we will make the house a Illinois landmark. And so we're excited about that. It's not only is there the cultural attraction to the house, but there's also an architectural attraction. It has 4 different styles of architecture sort of merged together in one. There's the vernacular, the arts and crafts, the Renaissance, and the Chicago Square architecture. We have original doors and door hardware, you know, that are from 1892 in the house. There's very few houses out here that have this type of thing intact. You know, we have original mantles and a lot of things there that are over, you know, over 100 years old. And so it's going to be attractive from that standpoint. It's on a historic block. It's in a historic neighborhood. And then not to mention the technology, because this blend of arts, culture, and technology to tell a story and to tell this type of story has not yet been done.
Man, it's absolutely exciting, and I'm looking forward to walking in that space when everything is done.
Thank you so much.
That type of different styles of homes in one home, is that a Chicago thing? Is that common? Is it unique to just that house?
Well, it's somewhat of a Chicago thing because, Chicago's known for its blend of architecture. I have not seen all four of those in one house. I've seen different variations of, like Chicago Square mixed with arts and crafts, or vernacular mixed with maybe Italian Renaissance. You will see that. But these particular four blended together is very rare. I have not seen it. And not to mention understanding that it was, obviously owned by a black man in the mid-century when it was not very popular for us to even be in that neighborhood. The house is a jewel, a real jewel. It's got pure limestone trim and like globes on it. They're painted white, but underneath there is 100% limestone.
Wow. And so, you purchased this, you acquired the home through a foreclosure, and now you were going to do a physical at a location in Chicago that, of course, we've been helping to promote, but because of the pandemic, that's changed. So talk about how people can be a part of the webinar tomorrow and give the people an idea of what they can expect to learn.
Yes. So, yes, you're correct. One of the things that I've been doing is what we call these entrepreneur talks. And so my co-host, Alisa Wilson, we call her the financial architect because she does financial planning and estate planning and that kind of thing. We've been doing these entrepreneur talks inside of the businesses, the brick and mortar businesses of conscious entrepreneurs. And our goal is to try to help the conscious entrepreneur to meet some type of need that they have. We've had them throughout the city. And so our plan this Saturday, before pre-pandemic, was to do it at Connect Gallery in Harper's Court in Hyde Park. And we were going to do a talk, or I call it foreclosure talk. We're going to talk about foreclosure real estate. And the person who helped me and was my foreclosure realtor in purchasing Sajdah House, who is now a great friend, is going to do a presentation, and we're going to talk a little bit about how to get into the real estate foreclosure game. And so now we're going to do it on a webinar, and there's links on my Instagram and my Facebook. My Facebook is Mind of the Entrepreneur, and my Instagram is Mo Today, MOETODAY. And, you can send in your questions. We're just going to talk about how to get in the game. I think when we finish this pandemic, it's going to be a buyer's market. And so we just have to educate ourselves and arm ourselves with information so that we can figure out how to, get in on some of these great properties, not just here in Chicago, but, around the country. And, we can do it. If you think about, some people say, I don't know if I can do it, but if you are a fashion lover and you buy shoes or purchase purses, then that could be a down payment on the property.
Right. Some of these bags, the bags they be talking about securing.
Come on now. You give up Gucci, you can buy all kinds of stuff.
Right. They had the Gucci and it'd be $10. It'd be $10 in the
Gucci,
purse.
Louis Vuitton, it's not just Gucci. I mean, they're nice. Don't get me wrong. I like nice things, but I also like real estate too. So.
I know that's right.
So hopefully people can join us tomorrow. Jump on the webinar. We just want to start to raise your awareness around foreclosure real estate, and hopefully post-pandemic, we can go back to doing the talks on site at the businesses of our conscious entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm. So, and you really see an opportunity after this pandemic, because is it connected with the stock market? Is real estate really connected with stock market? Or are they two separate things that operate in terms of how value is increased or decreased?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, real estate can be connected to the stock market, and in some cases it is when you start talking about loans and things like that, and just the value of property, because you have real estate that is bundled, or loans that are bundled and sold on the stock market. So as the demand increases or decreases, yeah, that can be, the stock market can be affected, or vice versa. If you just think of it logically, and unfortunately, whether it's a 2-week or 4-week quarantine or forced shelter in place or whatever they want to call it, that is not economically sustainable. And so a lot of people are going to lose their homes. A lot of businesses are going to close. A lot of people are just going to walk away from stuff. And so when that happens, if you want to be able to walk into those places and acquire them yourselves, you have to be ready. You first just have to educate yourself on how to do it. And again, get creative with your business and how to make money so that you have the cash and you can walk in and you can get it. But this thing is not economically sustainable. So I believe the economy is going to tank, and it's an opportunity for creative people to come up.
Tell people again how they can access the webinar.
So you can go to my Facebook page. There's a link there. My Facebook page is Mind of the Entrepreneur. My Instagram is Mo Today. It's MOETODAY. There is a link there. If you want to learn more about Sajdah House, you can follow me on Instagram at Sajdah House, SAJDAHHOUSE. And you can also visit my website, wendymuhammad.com.
Thank you. Beautiful. And, you know, you mentioned earlier about millionaires being made during recessions and depressions. And I've read a little bit of history, and it highlighted how some businesses were able to rise above their competition during times like this because they simply increased their marketing. They increased their promotion of their business, and sometimes lowered their costs a little bit, but they made sure that they stayed in the heart and the mind of that potential consumer. So with that being said, for those who are listening, we are always looking for sponsors of this show. And we're looking for opportunities. Right. We're looking always for opportunities to help you share your message. And this coronavirus pandemic has really shown and highlighted how important it is for Black media to be here, because you don't hear too many stories about how Black people, Black workers, and Black businesses are being affected. Not saying there aren't some out there, and you got a few reporters who have been kind of reaching out and kind of connecting, but something like this, there needs to be a full-on press with us talking about what's going on and how what this is going to look like in 2 or 3 months, and what we should be doing now to support ourselves and buttress ourselves for what could be, like you're saying, folks just walking away from stuff because they don't know how to keep it afloat during times like this. When it rains on white America, it's a monsoon on Black America.
Yeah, and the thing to remember is that you can't stop the monsoon, but you can calm yourself, and the storm will pass.
Talk about that.
You can't calm the storm, but you can calm yourself, and the storm will pass. So you're going to be fine if you can maintain your emotional intelligence, stay focused. Most people are going to lose because they're going to panic. They're going to panic and start walking away from stuff, getting emotional. The key thing is not to do that. Just stay focused and stay focused on opportunity, and use this time of quarantine to really reprogram your mind. Don't sit up and feed your mind all this gloom and doom. Know that you're going to be successful, and reprogram your mind to think that.
You heard it right here on Black Business Matters. We're on Intellectual Radio. We thank you all for tuning in. Sister Wendy, we thank you for coming on the show. You dropped some jewels on the people today. Like Jay-Z, you gave up $1 million worth of game for $9.99. And we appreciate you, and we look forward to...
Those are good footsteps to walk in, Zigga man. I'll do that.
Well, we appreciate you. Thank you for being on the show.